Now I have to admit that the list tag is one of my absolute favorite HTML tags. Can you imagine anything more nerdy or geeky than what I just said? I know. But the list tag is so incredibly useful, and it has uses that are, I think, self-evident, and then become more and more useful over time as other uses present themselves. And it's a good representation of how HTML is all about tags nested inside of other tags. So hopefully I've I've inspired some curiosity here. The OL is short for ordered list. The UL is short for unordered list. And the LI is short for list item. Once again, OL, ordered list. UL, unordered list. And LI is short for list item. And with that, I'm just going to show you these tags. And again, they're super handy. In our last video, we created a file called menu.html, and it had a list of 3 anchor tags in it. And I said that there was a tag called the list tag that could be used to present these. And so we hadn't learned about that yet, so I worked around that by using the div tag and line breaks, and I have this sort of effect here, right? Before I go any further, I do want to make a point that I think is worth emphasizing, not once, not twice, but multiple times. And that is that the HTML tags we've been learning, very rarely do they just exist in isolation from each other. For example, the title tag has to be inside of the head tag. This div tag is used to hold 3 other tags, right? The anchor tag wraps around some text. The body tag holds multiple tags, tags that contain other tags, that contain other tags. So this idea of tags inside of tags, is really key. So as you're digesting this material, please resist the urge to think of these items purely in isolation from each other. Of course, you have to isolate the tags one at a time in order to get started. But what we're about to see here is some list tags, and this really plays up that idea of tags nested inside of other tags. So I'm going to close these 2 items here, and I'm going to copy my menu, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to rename this to menu new, right? So menu new is going to use the list tag, and I'll call it my new menu. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of div here. I'm going to get rid of my break tags. And I'm going to put in some line breaks just for the sake of visual clarity, right? So when I preview this, I'm back to my problem of I don't have any line breaks here. These all look like they're one thing because they're all on one line. I can create a ordered list. So to do that, I would type my open angle bracket, OL, close angle bracket, And you can see that VS Code automatically gave me the closing ordered list tag. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go down to the bottom. Now, you might be tempted to believe that you're done here, right? That wouldn't be completely unreasonable, but let's see what happens. So I open that in the default browser, and you say, hey, it didn't work. I mean, it kind of tabbed over a little bit, but I don't have a, where's the list? Where's the ordered list? That's because the ordered list tag expects to receive or contain a series of list items. So my first list item is going to go here. I specify it with LI close angle bracket, and I'm going to back over this closing tag. And again, I'm going to use my backspace key here. And I'm going to just put in a couple extra spaces just so you can see the pattern. And then here I close my list item. That's going to be my first list item. Okay, ready for the next one? List item. And again, I'm using the delete key and the backspace key on my keyboard to move text around. And the more, again, not directly related to the list item tag, but the more comfortable you are with using the keyboard, the easier things become. The more you rely on clicking and dragging and just using nothing but the mouse, the process of web development and programming becomes very difficult. Okay, and that's end of the soapbox message here. So again, I've added some extra spaces here. The extra spaces are not necessary, but I put them in, and the indenting is not necessary either. I just put it in to make it all more readable. My ordered list tag starts here, ends down here. It contains 1, 2, 3 list items, and I saved all that, and I'm going to preview it. And now I have an ordered list of tags, right? And you'll notice that the numbers 1, 2, and 3 seem to have appeared out of nowhere. Well, why is that? Because this is an ordered list. So the browser was smart enough to say, oh, this is an ordered list. So that must mean you want it to be numbered. So the browser put the numbers in for me, which is kind of nice. So if I did want to, like, say, move this to the end, I don't have to renumber anything, right? I can just save that. Marking up text is now the last item on the list, and there you go. What if I change this to an unordered list? So that would be an UL at the top and a UL at the bottom. The list items remain the same. I'm going to open that up in the browser, and now I have a bulleted list. This is one of the most common structures you see in HTML. This and the div tag you can do a whole lot with. The unordered list, a collection of list items. Very, very handy. All right, so I've talked at length about how HTML is about tags nested inside of other tags, and we've seen how the ordered list and unordered list can be used to generate either a bulleted list of items or a numbered list of items. I have a couple more words to say about the list tag, but to do that, I'm going to have to go back over to my PowerPoint. So I'll see you right there in a second. I've already declared to you at length my love and admiration for the list tags. Let me just challenge you now with this little question. Excluding the box is here simply for the sake of presentation. Can you write the HTML for an unordered list that looks like this? So if you are serious about learning some HTML, now would be the time to get out a piece of paper or fire up Notepad or Visual Studio Code and type out or write out some HTML that gives you this unordered list. So you can pause the video and type that out and then come back. All right, I'm back. Let's see how I did this. So I started out by typing or writing the opening UL tag and the closing UL tag, right? Because that's going to be my whole unordered list. Then the next thing I did is I put the first list item into that unordered list. So my first list item was apples. So this is what gets me, the LI is what gets me this bullet and this line break. And then I added in the second list item, grapes. Unordered list, list item apples, list item grapes, close UL. So I did not get confused over the difference between UL and OL. I remembered that every list item is designated by the list item tag, and I just took it one step at a time. So the solution to the last question is seen on the screen here. What I have on the left is what you see as a typical end user using a browser. What you have on the right is the HTML that you would type into Visual Studio Code into an HTML file, because that's what a future programmer would do. All right, the next tag is going to be about tables. Tables and lists are really very similar, but I like lists better. I think they're even more useful than tables, but again, tables are super duper handy as well. So stay tuned for that.